Hi everyone, I hope you've all had a good week. I'm just back here with another HCG monotherapy update video. This week I thought I would go through my initial test results, which I did before starting the treatment. There was a lot of out of range results, so I wanted to go through what they are and also what the doctor said once he reviewed it. So I did 2 tests. This was my venal draw, which is taken from your vein, obviously. A nurse came to my house and did it in the morning. And then you have another test the following day where they post out a fingertip blood draw, which you just do yourself. And then you post that back. The reason they do that is so that they can track your hormones over 2 days and take an average rather than just doing it from one day. So this was the venal draw, which I think covers 65 biomarkers in total. The finger prick test just covered like 3 or 4. It was just the testosterone and a few other markers. So anyway, I'll go through this, the venal draw. So the first red thing you'll see here coming up out of range is MCHC. And the second one below that is neutrophil count. Now these are red and white blood cell counts which are helping to transport oxygen throughout the body and involved in lots of other mechanisms. When I spoke to the doctor about it, and he said it's statistically important, like significant, but not clinically important, and he wasn't that worried. He wasn't like, you need to get to a GP, you need to get to hospital over that at all. So kind of nothing to worry about. And interestingly, I had another blood test maybe a month later when I went to the hospital for an arm infection, and these tests were done for the fact that I had a quite a significant infection in my arm, and the MCHC and neutrophil count came back completely fine and within range. So it just goes to show that we do have fluctuations. So that wasn't too much of an issue. Now, if we move down to the other red area, I have high cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and non-HDL cholesterol. These are quite significantly high. And when I spoke to the doctor, he said that often with PFS patients, he sees people with high cholesterol. I have a very healthy diet. It's pretty phenomenal, to be honest. I would struggle to improve it a whole lot. I mean, everyone can improve, but when I spoke to the doctor, I was like, look, I mean, I couldn't reasonably improve it. I eat all organic food, 30 plus fruits and vegetables each week. I start my morning often with like a green shake, vegetable shake of 10, 12 different vegetables all blended up. And yeah, I don't eat processed foods. I eat a lot of home cooked stuff. So it was quite surprising to see my cholesterol was high. Now, what he said about that was that in PFS patients, it's a very common finding that we don't deal with lipids very well. And so he said that it shows that I do have post-finasteride syndrome, unfortunately. And there's medications to bring cholesterol down, but it's not something obviously I'm going to do. Statins would be the first thing, and they also cause a post-statin syndrome, would you believe it or not, where there's muscle wastage and all kinds of issues. So he did say, though, that results like this can be voided if you eat red meat the night before the test. So on my next test, when I do this, I'm going to make sure I have a vegetarian dinner the night before and see if there's any difference, because he said you wouldn't believe just the spike if you have a steak, for example, and I do eat a reasonable amount of organic steak. It makes me feel good. I'm not eating it every day, obviously, but it makes me feel really good. And it's something I'll avoid before the next test. Yeah, he wasn't super worried about this, but obviously he just thinks if I can cure my PFS, I'll cure my cholesterol issues. So that's the angle that he was kind of taking, and is not going to put me on statins. He thought that would be a ridiculous move at this point. So yeah, going to have a vegetarian dinner before my next test and see if those improve. So we'll go down. High prolactin. Now, this is really common with people with PFS. I see it all the time. High prolactin makes you feel awful, lowers your sex drive, gives you ED. Having high prolactin is literally like the worst hormone to have high out of all of them. This is something I want to talk to him a bit more next time. We didn't actually really address these two findings, which is the high prolactin and high SHBG. Originally, he told me that I should jump on supplementing boron for high SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin, I believe. This hormone, it basically sticks to testosterone in your blood, and it's the way that you're able to lower testosterone. It's your body's way of lowering your hormones. And so having a high amount of SHBG means your body is trying to lower your various testosterone levels in your blood. So you can supplement boron, which lowers SHBG, and subsequently it will raise your testosterone. But because I explained how sensitive I was to even the most simple things such as kefir and another supplement which I took, NMN, which drastically worsened my symptoms, he said, let's not go that route. But we didn't really speak too much about the prolactin. There are things that you can do to lower prolactin, and I think that could be the source of a lot of my trouble. Obviously, PFS is not just high prolactin, and it's not just hormone disruptions. Like, we know that there's something much deeper. But maybe if I can treat this high prolactin, I could resolve some of my symptoms and maybe just feel a bit better. I just know that high prolactin in guys just makes you feel utterly dreadful. So that's something I want to speak to him more about. But we only had a half an hour call, and there's so much to go through when you by the time you tell your story, and by the time you sort of review the results and he's trying to tell you everything, and then we talk about treatments, that half an hour, you fly through it. One thing I did just want to mention quickly is my testosterone, 26, and the range is up to 29 from 8. So I'm in the highest range naturally. I've never taken testosterone. I've never supplemented anything. Like, I'm not a bodybuilder. In my life, I've never taken or injected anything. So interesting to see I've got naturally high testosterone and feel like an 80-year-old man. So the other point I want to make about the fact that my free testosterone is in the middle of the range, which you would expect due to high SHBG. The SHBG affects this free testosterone range. The testosterone in general, this testosterone result could show a testosterone which is already bound with SHBG, and that will still be included in this. So you can see why having a high testosterone and a high SHBG doesn't equal a high free testosterone, because that's free testosterone is testosterone not bound with SHBG, if that makes sense. So that's why this is in the middle of the range, whereas my testosterone is high. Just the last thing I wanted to say is just that I'm not taking HCG because I have low testosterone. Maybe you do, but there is another reason why you would want to be prescribed HCG, and I'm going to go through that in a second. So I'm not taking it because my estradiol is low or my testosterone is low. I'm not using it for like hormone therapy as such. So I'm going to come on to that in a moment. But it was really encouraging to see my nutritional health was all good. Stress health is, pretty good. Liver health is all good. Kidney health, all good. My iron and various inflammatory markers were good as well. CRP was good. So it was nice to see thyroid health. So the vast majority of stuff is in range, and I'm on paper quite healthy. So we've got some things to focus on, such as prolactin, and get my cholesterol down. But other than that, not too bad. So the last thing I want to cover is what's the reason for taking HCG and why does it work for PFS? So there's this article which I want to show you, which is enhanced stimulation of 5-alpha reductase activity in cultured Leydig cell precursors by human chorionic gonadotropin. So essentially what this very short paper says is that Leydig cells, when they come into contact with HCG, upregulate the amount of 5-alpha reductase, which is huge for us because, as we know, we took finasteride or Accutane in my case, or possibly lion's mane and other things which reduce your 5-alpha reductase activity. So what it's saying here is that HCG does the opposite of finasteride, Accutane, etc. And just here at the end, it says, these results demonstrate for the first time that in addition to increased testosterone biosynthesis and 3-beta-HSD activity, the conversion of precursor cells to immature Leydig cells in vitro in response to chronic HCG treatment involves enhanced 5-alpha reductase activity. So this is the reason that I'm taking HCG, because I'm trying to get the cells in my body to enhance the amount of 5-alpha reductase activity in my testicles and in other parts of my body. So look, it's a stab in the dark. There's this one study. There's never going to be a study on, HCG and PFS. But look, we can just go on the research which is out there. So I'll link this paper in the description if you wanted to have a read. And I'll speak to you next week. I hope this was somewhat interesting. And yeah, you guys stay safe, stay well, look after yourselves. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Thank you very much.